Burkina Faso is standing at the edge of a quiet revolution, one not fueled by gold, not sparked by oil, but born from the soil, the sun, and the resilience of its people. For decades, the world has spoken of desertification, drought, and dependency. Today, that story is being rewritten. A new green revolution is emerging in the heart of the Sahel. And at its center stands a young leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. To many across Africa, he represents courage, dignity, and sovereignty. But to his own people, he is more than a soldier. He is the man who declared that Burkina Faso would no longer kneel to hunger, dependency, or neo-colonial dictates. Instead, under his leadership, the nation is charting its own path, one where food, water, and energy sovereignty are non-negotiable pillars of independence. It begins with water. In a land where over 80% of people depend on agriculture, and yet rainfall is short, erratic, and often cruel, controlling water is a matter of survival. This is why the nation has placed massive bets on irrigation and dams. The Samendani Dam in the Mohune Basin is one of the most ambitious projects, costing over $200 million, with a storage capacity of nearly 1 billion cubic meters. It was built not only to generate electricity but to irrigate vast plains, turning them green year-round and sustaining aquaculture. Already, the potential of Samendani is clear. Thousands of hectares are opening for cultivation, and fish harvests are feeding communities. But beyond the concrete and steel, there is vision. Traoré has been clear. Burkina Faso will not achieve sovereignty if its people still depend on foreign imports for rice, for maize, for onions, or for tomatoes. Every dam, every irrigation system, every rehabilitated valley is part of a larger plan to free the country from external control. Beyond the big dams, the state has focused on lowland development. Earlier compact projects rehabilitated more than 2,000 hectares of valleys and swamps, creating fertile rice and maize fields where there was once barren land. For 2025, the budget sets irrigation, lowland reclamation, and new storage facilities as clear national priorities. If implemented properly, this will break the vicious cycle of hunger seasons that has haunted rural families for generations. Under Traoré, water is no longer just a gift of the rains, it is being engineered into a permanent right. But water alone is not enough. The land itself had to be healed. The world remembers Yakuba Sawadogo, the farmer from Yatenga who taught his people how to stop the desert. His weapon was the humble Zai pit, small holes dug into hard, crusted soil, filled with manure, and planted with seeds. These pits capture water, revive fertility, and turn wastelands into productive fields. What began as an act of survival has now become a national movement. Farmers across Burkina Faso are digging pits, building stone bunds to slow erosion, and practicing farmer-managed natural regeneration, protecting trees that grow back on their plots. This has changed entire landscapes. Villages that once relied on food aid are now producing surplus cereals and vegetables. Groundwater tables in places like Gorga have begun to rise again because of the roots of protected trees. And all of this feeds into Burkina Faso's contribution to the Great Green Wall, Africa's vision to restore 100 million hectares of land across 11 countries. Though the wall is behind schedule, Burkina Faso has proven that restoration can work when driven from the ground up, with farmers, not foreign consultants, at the center. But what is new today is that this grassroots energy is being championed, protected, and scaled up by the state itself. Ibrahim Traoré speaks the language of sovereignty, but he also speaks the language of the farmer, of the youth, of the village. He has become the political shield behind which these movements can flourish. And that combination, popular innovation with state protection, could be the game changer. And now comes the third pillar of this green revolution, solar power. Burkina Faso is blessed with over 3,000 hours of sunshine every year. For too long, this immense energy went unused, while diesel generators drained the economy. That era is ending. The Zagtuli solar plant, west of Ouagadougou, with its 50 megawatt capacity, has become one of the largest in West Africa. It now powers homes, industries, and, most critically, new agro-processing hubs. This is where the revolution becomes industrial. Cold rooms powered by solar energy preserve tomatoes and onions for weeks instead of days. Solar dryers turn mangoes into export products. Solar mills process grains into flour, creating jobs and adding value before crops ever leave the village. The government's 2024 to 2028 plan is to raise electrification to nearly 50%, much of it through renewable energy, ensuring that every tomato factory, rice mill, and shea nut processor can run reliably without importing a single drop of fuel. And what about the harvest itself? For decades, up to 30% of Burkina Faso's crops have been lost post-harvest, a silent tragedy. The Green Revolution tackles this head-on with modern silos, solar-powered cold chains, hermetic bags, and community grain reserves. Each warehouse is more than storage, it is security. When farmers can keep their maize until prices rise, when mangoes no longer rot before reaching a buyer, when onions can last into the dry season, sovereignty becomes real. Reducing losses from 30% to 10% is the same as adding hundreds of thousands of tons of food without planting a single extra hectare. What emerges is a virtuous cycle. Water makes farming possible year-round. Restored soils make the land fertile again. Solar energy powers irrigation, processing, and cold chains. Modern storage keeps food in circulation, stabilizing prices and empowering farmers. Together, they create food sovereignty, the dream of a Burkina Faso that feeds itself, processes its own harvests, and exports surpluses with confidence. And yet, challenges remain. Financing gaps continue to threaten the scale of the Great Green Wall. Irrigation systems must be maintained, water fairly priced, and communities trained. Security is also a shadow. The fight against insurgency can disrupt farming cycles, cut supply routes, and endanger rural development. But what is striking is the resilience of Burkinabe farmers, innovators, and youth. They are not waiting for the IMF or foreign charities. They are digging, planting, building, and innovating with what they have. Here, again, leadership matters. Traore has consistently reminded the nation that liberation is not only political, it is economic, agricultural, and cultural. He has called for a Burkina Faso that refuses dependency and stands proudly on its own resources. In him, many young Africans see the image of Thomas Sankara revived, not in words alone, but in action. A soldier who fights for sovereignty, a leader who walks with farmers, and a patriot who is unafraid to challenge the global order. This is why Burkina Faso's Green Revolution is more than an agricultural project, it is a political statement. It says, we will not be starved into submission. We will not live at the mercy of global markets or foreign aid. We will reclaim our soil, harness our sun, and feed our people on our own terms. And in Ibrahim Traoré, Burkinabe see not just a president, but the guardian of that dream. And if this vision holds, if Semendeni Dam delivers, if Zai pits continue to spread, if solar power electrifies processing plants, if silos and cold chains lock in food security, then the Sahel will have witnessed something historic. A small landlocked nation turning climate adversity into opportunity, and hunger into abundance. Burkina Faso is teaching Africa, and the world, that the desert can bloom again. So as we follow this journey together, make sure you subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this deserve to be heard far beyond our continent. And every time you engage, you help amplify Africa's voice in the global conversation.